And if your boss is disrespecting you, they're betting on one thing, that you're not gonna call it out. Welcome to the Gloire space, where we identify that glory is our birthplace and we choose to live our lives with absolute grace. So I received a message from the Gloire subscriber, and he mentioned the following situation. I'm at work and many times I feel disrespected by both my coworkers and my boss. It's little things like when cutting me off when I talk and excluding me from decisions and or giving my opinion. Also, my boss will try to compare me to other people. The problem is I don't officially work for him, so he can break ties anytime. It's a music band, so there's a big turnaround of people and I need the gigs. Let's see how to go about this. So firstly, let's identify the actions that you've mentioned. There is no doubt that those are disrespectful. So let's not sugarcoat it. Let's not call it anything else. Let's identify. Yes, those things, if they were to happen to me, they were to happen to anybody. If I was in a place and I see somebody being treated like that, I would know that this person, for some reason, is being disrespected. When people disrespect, funny enough that even though they're trying to disrespect, but they don't want to appear like they want conflict. So they will do it in subtle, sneaky ways that you're kind of like doubting yourself. Am I being disrespected? Is it me or is it them? Am I misunderstanding? So they put you in this kind of like environment. And this is part of the disrespect because they're trying to be social. They're trying to be avoidant. So this is where you get the passive-aggressive kind of behavior. These kind of behaviors include, for example, being talked over. You're about to give your opinion. You've started your sentence. Somebody just cuts you off. Another one is they ignore your opinion. They ignore you even in the meeting. They don't project questions to you. This is not overreading into it. This is your right to be respected. As a leader, we're assuming you're not the leader here. The leader needs to be managing these things. Their job is to, okay, I see that there is miscommunication here. I see that this person is not getting time. I see that this is not a constructive environment. That is their job. Backhand compliments, for example, telling you that's not bad for your standard. That's not bad for your level. Oh, that's pretty good for your level of experience. That kind of backhand compliment sets up an authority and puts you down. You're kind of like, you don't know. Did they just say like, am I good or bad? Next one is lack of recognition for your contributions. So you've sat there, put in hours of work or whatever you do, and the leader does not identify this, does not show an appreciation. This is another way, especially if they're doing it to other people. Like they're saying, oh, look, I really like what you've done. And they just skip past you. I'll give you a little story. There was a guy at work who really hated me. I mean, really hated me. Don't know why. I actually don't, till this day, like times have gone. This is years ago. But I don't know why this person hated me. And when he gave a farewell speech, he named every single person at work, even people who were not working anymore. The one and only person he did not even attribute anything to, didn't even say anything about, even though we've had hours of chats and things like that, was me. Now, he even, talked about the cleaners. He talked about people who are don't even deal with him directly. Just not me. So you can't help but think this person has a bias against you or against me or against anybody. Unnecessary micromanagement. That's another way that people can show disrespect to you at work, especially if you see it's not consistent. For example, I'm 2 minutes late, I get told off. Somebody's 10 minutes late, nothing's said to them. There's some form of disrespect. Someone's trying to put their authority up on you. Another way you can be disrespected is when you're excluded from decision making. I've worked with a few people from music bands, and usually it's a communal thing. Yeah, we can do this, we can't do that. What do you think? Okay, the drummer's cool, the guitarist is cool, and then everybody agrees on something. You know, I'm not saying that it's always 100%, but there's give and take. If you're totally excluded, that's definitely disrespect. I used to know a guy who was a teacher, and he was the head of a faculty. And, you know, he was heading science at the time. And, you know, the school was going through lots of turnover of teachers. And they were interviewing science candidates, and they hired somebody. And he was not even called to the interview. And he said, you know, when he met the person who hired the person was like real happy kind of thing. And he was like, oh, guess what? We hired a science teacher. And the person that I'm referring to was like, hey, how come I wasn't included in this? Like, this is my faculty. Do I not get a say? That was definitely a disrespect. The last way that I will mention about being disrespected is in body language. This one's a bit harder to pin down because you can't really prove it unless you're filming the person. But most cases it happens so subtly, so quickly. Rolling of eyes, you know, that kind of mocking expressions. Sometimes they look at each other, you know, different people. These are different ways that you're being disrespected. So when these subtle disrespect happen, there's something they're betting on. See, they don't want conflict. But the problem is you also don't want conflict. So there's like an agreement that we don't want conflict. You don't want conflict. So we're going to be doing all these things subtly. The disrespect is just happening, just smoothly. We'll let it slide in. And you're not going to say anything about it because you don't want disrespect either. You don't want conflict either. So because you don't want conflict, they don't want conflict, it happens to just slip under the radar. Now, what does this disrespect do? Firstly, you start asking yourself questions. Am I overreacting? Am I reading the situation correctly? Am I reading too much into this? It's mentally exhausting. You're sitting there all the time. You're guessing, you know, what's happening here? Why did that person just bring that comment in? You're no longer working efficiently either. Sometimes they might be doing that to push you out. There's a lot of workplaces now that can't fire you directly. So they will use these tactics to pressure you into wanting to leave. And finally, this kind of behavior, you'll start feeling like you're stuck. If I say something, it's going to cause more issues. And then now I've got this problem, I'll have other problems as well. So it kind of like leads into this space where you're unable to move. You don't know what your next move is going to be. What do we do? Firstly, let's just put this point down. Aggression should never be your response. When you're in a professional setting, gosh, even not in a professional setting, even in a normal setting, aggression should never be your answer. You know, this reminds me of a quote by Bruce Lee where he says, a quick temper will make a fool of you soon enough. So, and there's a Buddha quote that I quite like as well about anger. To be angry is to let others' mistakes punish yourself. Aggression, don't do it. And anger and aggression will also turn other people. You might be the one in the right, and they're actually bullying you, but then they've got the aggression out of you. They can suddenly say, see, look, it's all a mind game. So what's the first thing we do? You need to call it out. You have to call it out. Call it out calmly, subtly, but call it out. I noticed I wasn't included in that meeting. Is there a reason? I noticed my opinion wasn't welcome. Was there something with it? You're definitely showing conflict and confrontation, but you're doing it in a very strategic way that leads to discussion. Another thing you can do, and you should do, if somebody cuts you off, is actually to call it out right there and then. Hold on, excuse me, you didn't let me finish. I was in the middle of saying something. I've let you finish. I deserve that same space. So this is you kind of like, you're saying, is there a reason? And they're not going to give you a reason. There's no way he's going to tell you, oh, I don't want you to say anything. Your opinion doesn't count. There's no way highly unlikely that someone is going to say to you, your opinion doesn't matter. Nobody's that's that straightforward. So it's all a mind game inside, and you've got to not back down. You know what's happening, but you can't back down. If you can gain an ally, that usually helps. I remember in one of my workplaces in the past where when the management team worked on a divide and conquer system. And then I had two friends I was working with, and one of us got into a really good position. And whenever they had a meeting, we would just attend the meeting, even if we're not part of that meeting. And we'd say, hey, we're just listening in. The others figured out what was happening. We were just there to give my friend moral support. We became allies. And suddenly, after a few times that this happened, they knew what game was being played. They knew that these guys are coming in as an ally, as a pack. And, he'd say something, we'd back him up through it. We'd give our own examples. And it made in the end of the day, a lot of these meetings don't bring any fruit, but it's just mind games. It's just a game of chess. And you have to know when to bring your key players. If you have a high-pitched voice, you might need to work on that a little bit. Just think of it like a parent talking to a kid. Think of it like a teacher talking to children. When you're going to put someone in their place respectfully, it's going to come out of your tone. Not so much the words, because you can't sit there and curse and cuss. You're going to sit there and you're going to, if you have a high-pitched voice, you might need to just gather yourself, and instead of, no, talk a bit slower and just point out exactly what you're feeling with censorship. Let me finish my thought. I'd love to hear your perspective after. Your voice, you're clear in your command, and it makes them feel like this person's not gonna back down. This person has something to say. This person has a backbone. Respect starts with how you allow yourself to be treated. If this video helped, please drop a comment below. Tell me, have you ever been subtly disrespected at work? And if so, what was your strategy? How'd you deal with it? And don't forget to like and subscribe for more mindset shifts. Thank you.